still on a high after what was potentially, I think, no, not potentially, hands down, the greatest grappling event I've ever been to.
I'm coming back, man. I had a harsh come down after it was over. I'm like, oh my God, that was crazy. But watching all the matches over again, going through some of the stats, what a wild event, huh?
That's the best part, isn't it? You get to relive all those moments, the ones that maybe you missed because there's so much happening. You get to rewatch all those matches, right?
Yeah,
that's what it was. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I went and that's what I spent the last 2 days doing, because when we're there, we're focusing on one mat, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you hear the crowd go crazy, and you look over, and these guys are doing something, and then so I spent the last 2 days just going on Arena and just rewatching everything that I missed.
It's so hard to keep track. You feel like you miss one mat here, and then you go over to this mat, and then you miss the mat you just left. It's like, oh my God.
All I can say is thank goodness for Arena, because that is awesome. Arena.flograppling.com. It's where all the brackets for ADCC are. You can go back and you can look at every single bracket for every division, and you can see how they played out. And every match on that bracket has a link to go through and to watch the video. So it not only tells you exactly who won and how, but it also has even like the points at the timestamps when they were scored as well, which makes it really good for going back and kind of seeing how those matches actually, what they look like, right?
Well, we can play this little highlight that we got.
Roll it
along too, so you can see some of the action that you missed out there.
Oh yeah, it's a wholesome moment here.
It's a big tournaments, man, you know, and this one is different.
You know, the production quality of this was just
roaring and like it triggers that
right? Look at that, like you got the
feel
smoke, you got drummers.
It's for everyone, it's for all you guys.
Very happy.
Even the haters.
Galvao.
It's for you guys. This. So take this as a lesson.
Shout out to Seth and
Keep training, keep riding, keep believing, and you will achieve.
Said you can catch
People's champ,
yeah,
right there,
Lachlan Giles.
Superstar,
stole the weekend, man.
He really did, right? Man, like what a guy. Like let's just remind people, right? We were talking about this in the office right yesterday. We're looking back through the years of ADCC results, and Lachlan Giles, 77-kilogram guy, goes in, taps his way through to a third place finish in the absolute division, and he was the lightest guy to make it to the absolute podium since 2007. That is
Marcelo Garcia.
Yeah, another legend, Marcelo Garcia. That's pretty good company.
In 2007,
Lachlan Giles
actually,
and Marcelo Garcia.
You know what's interesting is there were 277 guys on the podium in 2007. It was Marcelo Garcia took second, and Andre Galvao, who was 77 those back then, he took third. That's wild.
It's insane that Galvao was 77 back then.
Yeah.
It's definitely hard to imagine.
His traps are like 50 pounds now. Did you see?
And speaking of Galvao, man, you know what? We're jumping around.
Yeah,
here.
let's
dial it in.
Let's talk about Lachlan for a second, then, because man, I think we got to spend just a minute. I mean, you know, a lot of big storylines coming out of this tournament. Of course, Gordon Ryan, you know, but I feel like none have to be bigger than the story of Lachlan Giles.
He stole the show.
He absolutely stole the show. He, you know, it's what jiu-jitsu is made of. It's like why we watch ADCC. You know, it was all the things that you know you love about this sport and you love about this tournament wrapped up into one clean storyline for all of us to digest. It was just an incredible performance.
We have got a good question here actually in the live chat. Okay, putting you guys on the spot. What do you think was the biggest surprise? Blue belt Nick Rodriguez making it through to the finals, or Lachlan Giles tapping out three of the physically most imposing competitors in the game?
It's gotta be Lachlan Giles.
Hands down. I mean,
gotta be, right?
We've seen a lot of. I think it's the craziest thing I've seen in a jiu-jitsu tournament or a grappling tournament in general. Like we've seen a lot of upsets, right? You've never seen somebody do that 3 times in the same bracket, like in that fashion.
We can roll a couple clips of
with
Lachlan
submission wins
while
too.
we're talking
yeah.
here.
I mean,
maybe
submission wins. He's not eking out points wins. He's finishing these beasts.
He tapped the 99-kilogram champ in the first round,
right?
And then he taps Gaudio and Ali, who are both 50 pounds heavier than monsters, you know, superstars in the grappling world. And the crazy thing is after Kynan, everybody knew what was coming, right? The entire arena is watching, thinking, is he going to get a 50-50 heel hook? And he works his way there.
All right, so, yeah, I got a little story about what happened. And here is that first heel hook.
Lachlan versus Kynan.
Oh, look at that.
First round, man. Nobody was picking this, right?
No, nobody.
Surgically precise.
You'd have to be crazy to have picked that. I mean, you
Look
look
at the
that
crowd going wild. Like, they loved him.
Yeah. You look at that bracket, it's like, okay, this is an easy one for Kynan. 99
Exactly.
kilogram champ versus a guy who went 0-1 at 77. But
So I got a little story about this because while you guys were running around with cameras and stuff, I was doing commentary all weekend, and luckily, kind of like during a couple of matches when they all went down to one mat, I was able to kind of take a break and kind of actually watch for a little while rather than just call the action. And I was sat over on the side of the one mat, and Patrick Gaudio.
Here's
there's the Ali
tap.
tap versus Ali.
And this was the bronze medal match in the absolute. So
You're talking right after this match.
Gaudio was the nastiest one.
I'm going to go back a little bit because it was Gaudio went in and Gaudio lost to Lachlan Giles. And then he came out and, man, his knee was messed up. He had like ice on his knee. His ankle was popped. He actually was sat there and he asked me to translate with him with the medic as well. And he was explaining to the medic he couldn't feel his knee. He couldn't feel his foot. Right?
Yeah, he had ice on both, on his foot and his knee.
And he was mad, man. He was furious. You know, just the fact that he got caught and stuff, you know, the little guy. So Gaudio sat there and he's been training with Ali at Fight Sports in Miami, right? And those guys, you know, Ali is like, okay, he's going to go through into the bronze medal match after losing Buchecha. And they're talking to each other. And, you know, it's kind of clear because Gaudio's like mad. And Ali's like got his game face on. And he's like, don't worry, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to smash this guy and stuff. And then like Gaudio's like, yeah, you better, you know. So he goes out there, gets tapped in like a minute. And then like, you know, brutal heel hook, comes back. And there's this moment where Gaudio and Mohammed, they both sat there with the medics attending to them, both put ice on their knees at exactly the same moment.
Just commiserating together.
And they both, like, their faces are just dark and full of thunder, and they just look at each other and they just go... and they just start laughing because of the ridiculousness, the absurdity of it. It was insane. It was one of the funniest moments of the entire tournament.
An instant ADCC legend. That Lachlan Giles, man.
Who could forget that?
He told me in that post-tournament interview that he was hoping to just earn an invite back by entering the Absolute. He said, hey, they told me if I do the Absolute, I'm more likely to be invited back.
I mean, I think
he's earned it.
Yeah.
They better invite him back, right?
Yeah.
No, he's guaranteed now. But
Yeah,
he's like,
yeah.
I was just hoping to go out there and look good, and then they'd invite me back next time.
Well, hopefully as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully as well, he gets a better seed as well because he came into the 77 kilogram division. This is actually Lachlan's third ADCC appearance because he won the trials a bunch of times, right? And he had a rough draw. He had Lucas Lepri first round, but it wasn't just because of the seeding. It's if the rumor is correct, he actually asked for Lucas first round.
Yeah, Lucas hit one of the slickest back takes of the whole tournament on him too. That was beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we're talking a lot about wrestling versus jiu-jitsu and stuff like that coming out of this tournament, right? But I mean, I think Lachlan just proved how effective, you know, technical jiu-jitsu is. You're never gonna see like a lighter guy like a Dayton Fix or whatever go up and wrestle a Kyle Snyder and beat a Kyle Snyder. It's just not gonna happen, you know.
Yeah.
But in jiu-jitsu, you know, the technique really does bridge those gaps.
Technique
A little
conquers
bit,
everything.
anyway.
I know the other thing about
That's what they
that
say.
moment with Gaudio and Ali as well that was hilarious was that, I mean, the post-event stuff about when like Gaudio posts on his Instagram is like a photo of him, Kynan, and Ali together. And there's like sending a little hug to Australia. And then like Ali
Incredible.
is saying that, oh man, like tagging Patrick, like we need to buy this guy's DVD. It's like
It's awesome. It's great sportsmanship.
It really is.
Lachlan had JT first in 2017 too. So he's had some really bad seeds. So
That's right.
he had Durinho first round 2015.
yeah, he's had
Oh, wow.
he's
They don't
been
like
nothing
him.
but a bottom seed. No respect for the Oceania Trials winner.
Let's talk about that absolute division though, because there are so many submissions in that bracket. The most out of any other bracket. There are 12, I want to say, if I remember that correctly. Why? I'm racking my brains here. Why
What
do
was
you
it?
think
7
It
of
just
the 8
went
first round matches. were
7 of the
submissions?
8 first? Yeah, 7 matches out of the 8 first rounds were finishes, and so you're just sitting there watching.
was all leg locks right
boom,
off the
boom,
bat,
Boom,
yeah.
boom, boom. Yeah, the most heel hooks came from that division.
And then Spriggs got a guillotine in the first round there too.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
One of the most savage guillotines of the tournament.
Tex
I
got a
should say.
footlock.
Yeah.
Spriggs got a guillotine. And I want to say probably all the other first round subs were heel hooks, right?
Yeah, and
Gary on
One-handed
Edwin.
Ankle lock. Oh, such a brutal thing.
my guess for why there were so many is that these guys were pretty dialed in their own divisions, doing a lot of homework, a lot of studying, and they didn't probably think to watch a whole lot of other tape or do any other study, and they just got a look they weren't used to and got caught. But I don't know what else was going on.
But leg locks weren't really a dominant theme up until that point.
Yeah,
Up until that point at all.
Yeah, you didn't see him at all.
That's what I talked about in the video I did with Reed, that me and Sean Williams, right before the Absolute, were talking, like, in the little intermission, like, hey, man, not that many leg locks this year. Like, a lot of, other stuff, guillotines or whatever. And then I ate my words when it comes out of the Absolute, and it's like 5 heel hooks in the first round.
Yeah.
I feel like it's called the Absolute division, right? But you could almost call it like the Redemption division. I feel that's like that is these guys. Lachlan is a perfect example. I mean, when I went back there and I saw Muhammad Ali warming up, he was like, man, I went out first round. This is my shot. I saw Keith Krikorian warming up back there, taking it very seriously. And these guys were. Like Lachlan said, they're trying to impress people, and they had a disappointing showing the first day, and that second day, this is the day to seize the day, right? They had nothing to lose. These guys were just gonna go out there, balls to the wall, and they did. And I think that's probably maybe why you saw some of those submissions too.
It's a long 2 years for the next ADCC.
Exactly, right? You only get one shot.
That's something cool that ADCC does, because most Absolute divisions that you see is only guys who make the podium.
Right.
ADCC, like half the guys are guys who went out first round that they're letting get another shot. Like if it was only podium guys, Lachlan wouldn't be there, right?
Yeah.
And then you get Lachlan goes out there 0-1. I mean, great move by him. He could have went home 0-1. He's a little guy. He did the Absolute. Now he's a legend. And he's just selling out, I think, more than he does in his weight class. He's going out there. He's like, I got Kynan. What do I got to lose?
It's like being the ultimate wild card.
Yeah.
Right. You get that shot. You can go in, and you're looking at the bracket as well. I think the bracket was really interesting because there were only 2 champions actually in the Absolute division. And that was Gordon and Kynan. And of course, Gordon, we saw he just was on cruise control for the entire weekend, right? He just walked through it and stuff. But you look at Kynan. I mean, nobody would have imagined that Kynan, after that incredible performance of beating Yuri Samois, of beating Buchecha, and then beating the wild horse himself, this animal Nick Rodriguez. He tamed the bucking bronco, right?
Yeah. And then tapped in 3 minutes. Tapped in 3 minutes by Lachlan.
Yeah, there you
After
go.
all that, yeah.
Like out first rounds, shocker. And this is after Kynan had already showed in previous events like Kasai and so on that it's like heel hooks are not a mystery to him, right? I mean, he hit that beautiful back take on Craig Jones at Kasai Pro earlier this year.
Right.
That was like the kind of heel hook, the defense that Felipe had shown against Gordon a few years ago. So for him to get tapped by a guy who he outweighed by 25 kilos or something, that's crazy.
I think looking at when I was rewatching Lachlan's leg locks, like you see how scared guys are of Gordon, right? When Gordon gets on the leg, I don't think at first they weren't respecting Lachlan being in there on their legs as much as like when Gordon starts going for it.
Especially with the size difference.
Yeah, the size difference. They might not even know much about Lachlan. When Gordon gets in on there, they run for their lives. They try and get out of there immediately. They seemed a little bit more comfortable in there with Lachlan, and then
It was over.
Yeah.
So moral of the story, don't get into a leg lock shootout with Lachlan Giles.
I'm pretty sure that's not
Any
gonna
Australian.
happen.
Don't get in a leg lock shootout with any Australian.
Australia.
I mentioned this.
How
Go
about
ahead.
we should play this real quick? How about this one before we move on from the Absolute division? One of my favorite clips from the Absolute division is this Gary versus Edwin.
Oh, vicious.
Flying heel hook we got right here. Look at this one.
Kani Basami.
I think Edwin was ready to sell out as well, but he got the raw end of the stick.
Man, it's a clever counter to Edwin's stand-up style, right? Edwin doesn't wrestle like normal people. He stands up straight and baits the shot.
Yeah, he wants you to shoot in, right?
He wants
Gary,
to go for
man.
that Darce choke, but
Yeah.
Gary said, "I'll just do this instead."
Gary was on point. I feel like we could talk about Gary all day, but his stuff he was firing off was just hitting this week. His takedowns, his submissions.
For me, that right there, that Kani Basami into the flying heel hook and stuff. Obviously, it's kind of the
Kanabasami.
Kani Basami.
Kani
It's the
Basami?
big Japanese for
That's the
flying
proper
leg
term
scissors.
for it?
He doesn't know what that means.
Delicious snack.
I just repeat what Sean Williams told me. So.
Gotcha.
But that was like the grappling equivalent of a one-punch knockout, right? It was just like walking out there and
How
getting
quick was that
cold
one?
clocked.
It was like 15 seconds.
18 seconds.
Officially, it was recorded as 18,
Yeah.
but I mean, I was there and I counted on the clock, and it was like 14 and a half seconds. It was just like straight out there, bang, done. But Gary
quickest
came
in
back
history.
after a 2-year layoff from grappling tournament.
Oh,
He's been focused on MMA the entire time. And there's no exaggeration to say that he had a career best performance.
Looked
at the
better than ever,
ADCC.
for sure.
Right?
This is his 4th time. He's never made the podium until now.
Took the bronze, and he looked great.
So fun.
You remember in 2017, Chase? I feel like there was just like a renewed focus from Gary too. You remember the Wagner Gary match?
Oh, he didn't really care.
It was a little playful, right?
That was the bronze medal match.
Yeah, but this time it felt like he wasn't playing around with any of these guys. He had like a renewed focus.
I felt that was the case all weekend. Like, you know, like we saw Gary, and of course he was all dressed up as usual. He loves the outlandish costumes and stuff. But Gary's a happy-go-lucky kind of guy, right? And, you know, he's always playing around and joking and stuff. Even bumping into him in the hotel and at the weigh-ins and stuff, there was no messing. He was really kind of like subdued, quiet, serious. That's not the Gary Tonon we're used to seeing, right?
I just think, you know, Gary's so open with this game that we were talking about this before ADCC. Like, could he be affected by not doing pure grappling and doing strictly MMA? But I think we all agreed that the fact that he's just creative and just doing unusual things, it would actually be almost benefit him to be away. And I think it showed. Like, his wrestling was phenomenal. The best wrestling, I think, of the tournament. And,
JT, I would say.
Yeah,
JT.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, true. JT's got
JT
pure
did
wrestling, though.
JT did take Gary down too.
Yeah.
That's true. All right, fine.
But I know what you're saying. It was very impressive.
It was just
Good.
fun.
Yeah,
Like,
it was.
Gary's so fun to
Gary's
watch. He's
fun.
an entertainer.
And what do
I
you-
think
what
if
do
you
you guys
made
think?
if you made a top 10 most exciting matches from the weekend, all
Five
of
of them.
all of Gary's matches are probably going to be in there.
Yeah.
Well, what was the most exciting one that everybody's talking about was him versus Renato Canuto. Are you guys in
Absolutely.
agreement that was the
yeah.
wildest match?
Yeah,
There were some wild matches, though.
Wild is
there were a lot of
that
them.
was the
Yeah.
most exciting 0-0 match in the history of grappling for sure. It was insane how many times they were close to getting something, and they're both like a spring. They're just bouncing back out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it got so deep in the match that they were just like, try something. Yeah. And they were just both just like trying things and just kind of like letting each other like be offensive because it was just like crazy scrambles, like one after the other.
It was
That
like watching
that was
cats
hype.
fighting.
That was
It was
hype.
just like this ball, like a cartoon ball, like rolling around the mat.
Like Hanato's Gary's dark twin. They're very
Right, the
different in the way they
Brazilian twin.
execute moves, but they have the same sort of approach, I believe.
How
We
bad
should
do you
roll
want to
that
see
one
them?
back.
How bad do you want to see them run that for a rubber match now? They're 1-1 against
Absolutely.
each other. Man, I'll watch that anywhere. We need a super fight of those two.
Right. I know Gary said he wants it. And I think
I'm sure Hanato does too at this
yeah,
point.
Hanato wants it. Anytime those two guys fight, you know, make sure there's a camera.
Got
Watched
a
it by
question
bracket.
actually in the comments right here is that who had the fastest submission? Was it Gary or was it Tex? It was Gary. It was
Gary.
definitely Gary. I think Tex's submission was around about 30 seconds. It was
tell you
actually
John
right
Blank
now.
there in the absolute.
yeah, like 20 something, but it
27
was
for Tex.
27 seconds for Tex for the straight foot
And
lock
then
against
Kynan
John
had a
Blank.
50-second submission. So
Oh, his first round? First
couple
round?
sub 1 minute submissions this time around.
I'm
Jeez.
gonna go around the table. I'm gonna ask you guys then. So, the most memorable, most exciting, just the standout match for you at ADCC 2019, regardless of division, absolute weight division, whatever. Chase, kick us off.
Whew, thank goodness.
Hey,
Didn't start with me.
Give you
My
time.
mind's reeling, and I'm gonna pick one that might be a little bit off the radar because there were so many bombastic, wild matches. But to me, when Dante Leon took Lucas Lepri's back, my jaw was on the floor.
Right.
That was the wildest thing because it's like, okay, Lepri's probably gonna win that match and be in prime position there to meet
No offense,
Wagner
Dante.
in the semi. Yeah, no offense to Dante, he's had a great year, but Lucas Lepri is Lucas Lepri. And he took his back, man. Took his back and won that match. And with time left, I think he had 3 minutes on the back or something.
He was on the back forever, yeah.
Yeah, so that was just incredible to me and a huge testament to Dante's incredible year. You know, he's had a phenomenal year with a lot of success in the no-gi department. He's poised for great things. So to me, that really stood out.
I said that about Dante going into ADCC, that I felt that he had the kind of style that would work really well for ADCC because he's physically very, very strong. He's deceptively technical from bottom. He's got this great guard game and stuff, and he can wrestle up. And that's exactly how he scored on Lucas.
That's how all the back takes were coming. When I went through and did watch all the points yesterday, most of the back takes were coming up from a single leg from the guard or something, and then they're defending and you're jumping on the back.
There you go.
I was watching the Hanato Gary was at the same time as that one, and everybody was over watching that one. And then somebody, I think Gordon's like, "Oh man, Dante's about to beat Lucas," and everybody stands. You know, it was shocking to look over and see him on his back.
Mike, your most standout match from the tournament.
I'm not going to say match. I'm going to say division. Women's under 60 was just. It was a
That was pure fire.
It was a buzzsaw. I mean, first Fionn. I mean, Bia Mesquita has always stomped Fionn. She's always beat her up.
She had a number, right?
And Fionn comes out and breaks. I mean, I didn't even get to see these matches live. I was working backstage interviewing, and it was just like I was just hearing the crowd roar, and then like a girl like
What a
getting
crowd,
carried back
too.
crying. So like that's and I was like, what is
I'm
going on?
laughing, but you know, we talked about
yeah.
how ADCC is a brutal tournament, and there was some brutal moments.
I was just
in
like,
this
what
division.
is going on out there? You know, you see Bia coming back, holding her arm at the ice, and then Fionn and Bianca Bazilla. So first Fionn, basically, I don't know what happened medically, but it looked like she broke Bia Mesquita's arm.
It was way past the point
it
of like it
brutal.
was like it was back here. It was
brutal.
way past 180, and then there was a little bit of a twist added in as well. I don't know if it was a
brutal.
dislocation or what, but ooh.
And then Fionn, I mean, this division is hard for me to watch too because those girls are three of the nicest people in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
I love them all. And then Fionn, after the biggest win of her career, goes out there against Bianca Basilio, and Bianca Basilio looked like she broke Fionn's leg. I mean, maybe for a second time this year. Bianca Basilio with that vicious toe hold in the final.
Yeah, that was really nasty. I think that was a huge strategic error by Fionn because we know how good Bianca's leg locks are. She tapped out Fionn at the Worlds this year, right?
Well, she got a straight ankle, yeah.
At Worlds,
Yeah.
and this time it was a toe hold,
it
but it
was-
was in that shootout, in that leg lock position, and I mean Bianca just ripped it.
It was the type
ripped
of
on.
type of toe hold where it wasn't like you're putting the toes in the butt. The leg was straight, and those ones a lot of times can result in some vicious injuries for sure.
For sure. Reed, standout match, please, if you will.
I think it was a wild weekend, so many big moments, but I think where I was like the most excited or where I was like just the most hype was right before Andre versus Felipe.
Oh yeah.
I think just the buzz in that building while they played the video and while those guys were walking out and Felipe was screaming and then Andre was staring Felipe down. Man, I could not contain myself how excited I was, to be honest. And
The drums, they're banging on the
drums, man. It was just like the place was absolutely electric at that moment.
You were the guy who was really responsible for making this happen because you flew to San Diego and you flew to Brazil to film and to meet both Andre and Felipe
I
in the
knew
run up to this.
how much how serious those guys were taking it.
But you were part of the team that created that amazing kind of like the promo video that actually played on the big screens in the venue. And right when that video played, that 60-second little video, I mean, I got goosebumps. But the reaction from the crowd as well it was the most anticipated moment of the entire weekend, right? No exaggeration.
And just hearing the announcer say the biggest ADCC super fight of all time.
The
the
announcer
biggest,
was on point too.
Yeah, he was good. The biggest grudge match. I know how much it meant to Felipe. I know how much it meant to Andre. I knew that these guys weren't going to give an inch. And I just was jumping out of my chair. I so excited. I could not wait for it.
Do we have a clip to play for this?
Oh yes, we do. Actually, not from this match.
Okay.
But maybe in a second here. But I mean, and I thought the match delivered.
Absolutely.
What do you guys think? Do you guys think Galvao broke him with his pace? It seemed like it to me.
100%.
Yeah. Like at one point when they went out of bounds, it was like Felipe didn't want to get. And I think you saw a little reaction too when Galvao was coming out clubbing him, and Felipe is like, "Oh wow, this is."
So the first 10 seconds of that match looked like an old school pancrase bout because it was like straight up open hand slaps. Now, we've seen videos of Galvao training like this with Josh Hinger at Atos, right? They just beating the crap out of each other in the stand-up, like clubbing each other. And Galvao came out of the gates immediately in the first 15 seconds. He immediately had Penner on the back foot. He was chasing him across the mat, and just the look on Felipe's eyes, I genuinely think that he wasn't prepared for it.
After the takedown out of
Right.
bounds too, it was like Galvao was back in the center and Felipe is still laying on the ground. It was like right there I was like, I don't think he's coming
I
back.
mean, he
from
hit that table pretty hard. To
He
be
did.
fair.
Yeah.
He
That
wasn't the
it
only
was
guy to do
intense.
that all weekend,
Yeah.
right? There were a few of those incidents. Maybe a case for bringing the tables back away from the mat a
Absolutely,
little, or
yeah.
making the mat even bigger. But I mean, luckily nobody was seriously hurt from that. Yuri Samois is a slightly different matter. He tweaked his knee, kind of going out of bounds. But just to speak about that, it's like the Galvao was just relentless. Like, he didn't give Felipe time to breathe. He was constantly in his face, constantly pushing him. And well, I mean, how many takedowns did he score? I don't even remember.
2 points, but
But I mean, he only
in the-
scored.
in the no,
but how many takedowns did he hit?
I think there were 3 good
Two or
sequences,
three?
and
Right.
Andre had a perfect strategy. He didn't take a shot for almost 5 minutes. He was
Yeah.
just pulling on his head, making him tired, wearing him out, and it seemed like Felipe was dazed. And then he just bam hit a blast
it's
double.
the thing. Once he gets on the bottom too, how are you going to sweep Andre Galvao there? It's going to be so tough to put him on his back and hold him for 3 seconds or whatever you got to do to sweep. It's gonna at that point I didn't really like Felipe's chances once I saw it.
Yeah, I thought definitely, a lot of good competitors. I think you got to give it up to to what Gordon did out there. He didn't make it look easy, but in terms of who looked the most prepared, it looked like Andre was prepared for anything.
And it was his birthday,
and it was his
37th
birthday.
birthday
Pretty
as
awesome.
well, man.
Speaking of those two, I'm getting a lot of hate in the DMs online for ranking Gordon ahead of Galvao. What do you guys think about my choice there?
I don't think it's the GOAT list. See, if you were talking greatest of all time, maybe I put Andre ahead. But we're talking season, Gordon did double gold, 2 brackets.
At
I
No-Gi
don't
Worlds,
feel-
too. We still
yeah.
ranking his No-Gi Worlds
I
double
don't
gold.
feel that the one super fight
Outweighs 8 wins.
exactly,
Yeah.
and it's not just that, because Gordon has consistently been winning, as you say. No-Gi Worlds last year, super fight against Joao Gabriel, his recent performances. You have to take that into consideration. And 6 submissions out of 8 matches, beating guys like Buchecha, beating guys, just a host of really, really talented, tough guys. I think absolutely earns Gordon that number 1 spot.
Who can say, right? Who can say? I think
We
hey,
can say.
go-
Look at the rankings.
Andre is he is the most senior. He's defending the super fight. So I mean, I think you could say that he's got a claim to it until Gordon beats Andre.
I think Andre's GOAT at this point.
To hook up Andre, though.
Well, in terms of legend status, ADCC,
Yeah.
I mean, that just further cements Galvao's position for me.
Yeah, but
right?
it's not
I mean,
a ranking
how-
for your
how can you deny
career.
it?
Exactly,
But,
not
right.
career ranking.
To help out Andre, though, that was the only division I didn't go straight podium from ADCC. I was like, I cannot put Andre Galvao in 5th after the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th.
But we want to find out who the best is. We got this little clip right here we can play, Andre versus Gordon, and we want to know who the best is.
Oh my word!
What do you guys think?
We can
Andre
see
coming
it.
back? Andre gonna come back?
Look at this. Come
Says
on,
he
this
is,
was so
right?
hype.
I
These
gotta
guys.
say, all right. So when Galvao beat Penna, I was right next to Angelica Galvao and all the rest of the Atos guys, and I turned around to Angelica and I was like, "Is he gonna come back? Is he gonna come back?" And she's like, "Yeah, I don't think so."
No, of course he's gonna come back.
No,
Come on.
she's like, anything can happen, but I really don't think so. I really think he's done. And then literally 2 seconds later, Galvao's out in the middle of the mat, facing off with Gordon, and I'm just like, what is happening here? This is incredible.
He's been chatting too with Gordon online a little bit, going back and forth on Instagram.
Okay,
The
well, I'm
hype
going to
is
say
real.
something right now. I feel
Don't do it.
that Galvao kind of has to, in a way, because he is the one who put the stipulation to Gordon. He said, "Hey, Gordon, you've wanted this match for however long, like 3 years or something. You've been chasing after me. You've been calling me out. You've been talking a load of crap online. Here's the deal." He said it straight. Go and win ADCC Gold Absolute.
Yeah.
Then
Earn your shot.
In a couple of years, you and me.
Said that
right?
a bunch of times. I've seen that a bunch of times from him and Angelica about Gordon. So
you know,
Gordon went and did it.
There was the talk that it was going to be, Galvao's last match. There's the talk that, that he's going to retire out in a high. And even Gordon himself said that, if that is the case, if Galvao wants to retire, he actually doesn't have a problem with that, because he would love to see somebody go out, with their legacy intact. And I don't think anybody would disagree that that's a cool
100%.
thing, right?
Where's the super fight go from there?
Huge but, okay? That is by far the one match that we really, really, everybody undeniably wants to see more than any other, because it's the one match that where else is that ever going to happen, right?
Yeah,
That's fair.
running out of time for it.
Could you imagine
That's
2021 Andre versus Gordon to really solidify who is the top of the pound for pound ranking?
Yeah,
He's gotta wait 2 years.
yeah, but
I think
that's
the
what I'm
fans
saying.
would agree.
We don't have
right?
many more
Yeah.
from Galvao. That's why I sort of felt bad for Pergisa there, because that's like one of the big rivalries of his career, and he's not going to have a chance to run it back. Like, that was his last shot, and Galvao took
over.
it.
That's sports, baby.
Yeah.
Got a couple
It
key
is.
players in the comments here. Shout out to Mo. And Josh Hinger just said he's got an entire highlight of Galvao and himself clubbing each other. Should
I
post
bet.
that thing. I want to see
Years
it.
of highlights, I bet.
Yeah, I got to say shout out to Mo as well for putting on literally the best ADCC in living
Wow.
memory. I just
Wow.
think that's
The stuff that those guys were able to pull off, Seth.
Best grappling event ever. It was like you were at WrestleMania or the Super Bowl
Oh,
or something.
my
Just the
goodness.
feeling, the electricity in the air around the Hilton where we were staying. It was like, yeah, it was.
I mean, I think it's not by accident that it was the most exciting. I think just the from the audience, the crowd, the way that they were participating, and the production and the spectacle that was on, it elevated, I think, everybody's performance.
For me, it's ADCC as it really deserved to be, because ADCC, the most prestigious no-gi championship in the world, the most respected of titles in the no-gi landscape, and it's not always been treated maybe as it could have, right? Some of the locations that it went to, some of the the kind of the situations with the actual organization around the tournaments has been up and down, right? But I got to say, the last couple of years, Finland was incredible. 2017, 2019 in LA was phenomenal. For me, that signals a trend in a move in the right direction. I think 2021 is going to be.
How are they going to top 2021?
The SoCal fans really made it special
goodness.
too. The SoCal fans really know their jiu-jitsu compared to a lot of regions, and having them there, they know when a big sweep's coming. It really helped.
They know the magnitude of what these things mean.
They really do, right? They're educated fans, and they were, like you say, Mike, they were predicting,
They knew what's coming,
Yeah, they could see things coming. You could hear them kind of go, oh, it's coming. It's, the right reactions at the right times.
They helped
It's fantastic.
clue me in. I'm shooting photos. I'm kind of dialed in on one mat. I hear some crazy stuff happen to the right. I got to turn. I got to swivel, follow the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we discussed there a little bit about the standout matches. We discussed obviously Lachlan Giles,
what was
People's
yours?
Champion.
You didn't pick yours yet.
Oh, okay, I got one. I got a good one actually, and I really enjoyed this match. It was one of the ones that I commentated on, and I think it's maybe a sleeper match, and I really suggest people go back and check this one out just because it was really, really entertaining and technically very interesting. It was Craig Jones versus Mason Fowler. Sleeper match. It was like second round in the 88 kilogram division. Mason Fowler is as tough as they come, right? He's only a brown belt, okay? And this guy training with Caio Terra, he's got a ton of MMA and wrestling experience, and he's really been sharpening his jiu-jitsu game. And Craig was on fire, right? And, Craig has been criticized in the past as being very one-dimensional with his leg locks. He showed a little bit of everything in the tournament, but even in that match, he was cycling through let's call them the Danaher systems, the front headlock system, the back system, the Kimura system. It was a little bit of everything, and Mason was just, he was getting stuck in. It was a kind of a little bit knockdown, drag out, and then Craig hits this beautiful guillotine. Fantastic match. So one of those ones that maybe gets slept on because it was like an earlier round match and stuff. But
Mason did have a great performance, and a lot of these guys did who maybe went 1-1 at the tournament, or even these guys like Craig who didn't win the gold. But I mean, there's so many great performances that we're not even talking about.
Something that none of us mentioned that I think deserves honorable mention for story of the tournament, like what we're talking about, is Ruotolo.
Oh yeah,
Right.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Jeez.
the youngest competitor to ever make it that far in ADCC.
And then made it to semis and then went the distance with Paulo Miao. He's a juvenile blue belt, 16-year-old.
It's incredible. I mean,
every one of his matches.
that kid can't even get his purple belt yet.
It's not gonna allow. Yeah, he took it to Paulo, man. That knee bar photo's been all over the internet.
What was it Danaher said to you about the belts, Reed?
That they died. I forget what did he say. They used to mean something.
To paraphrase, it's like basically they don't mean that much anymore because you have like purple belt Nicky Ryan, beating the black belt IBJJF world, gi champion in Jameel Hill and making it into the division.
Nick Rodriguez,
purple belt, can't even get his brown, and then there you go, getting his purple belt on the podium.
There was two blue belts in the ADCC semifinals. If you think about it, Ty and Nick Rodriguez.
Wow, that's right. Yeah, fighting for the podium spot.
I feel like we got a Nicky Rod clip here. I feel like I should tell this story because it's kind of a funny story. But that morning after he had already beaten Muhammad Ali and Orlando Sanchez, ADCC world champion, IBJJF world champion, Nicky Rod's coach came up to me that morning and said, "Hey, do you know where I can find a purple belt? Do you know where I can get a purple belt? I want to promote Nicky to purple belt today." And I said, "Is he ready? Really? Come on."
Are you sure, Jay?
How long has he had his belt?
Yeah. I was like, "Is this IBJJF legal?" But and I said, "Well, man," I was like, "Well, I brought my purple belt, And so we had another one of the guys who was working with us run back to my room, grab my purple belt so we could put the purple belt, so Jay could promote Nicky to purple belt on the podium, standing next to Kynan and Buchecha, two black belt world champions, two of the greatest, especially Buchecha, one of the greatest. Here's a little clip of this one of these matches. And this is Nicky's first match.
This is the first round match.
The last 5 seconds of the match here, he hits this insane.
This basically won the match for him. I think I could have gone to Muhammad if that moment didn't happen.
Yeah,
here.
that fireman's won it for him.
Yeah, it was a very even match. I was calling that one with Sean Williams, my commentator partner for the weekend, and when those guys came on, did you see them land on the photographers like twice?
And this was the first match of day one.
Yeah.
This is like the first match.
If you want to make a match that's going to land on the photographers, it's Nick Rodriguez versus Muhammad Ali.
It's like 500 pounds of men flying through the air.
There's Jay right there, his coach, who promoted
cool.
him to purple belt at the end of the second
Jay
day.
Rigobudo, right?
Yeah.
Really
He's a
cool
nice
guy.
dude.
Shout out to those guys down in South Jersey, man, making killers.
Doing work.
Dude, what is it about Jersey?
Yeah, Jersey's content gold,
Mikey
man.
Musumeci, now Nick Rodriguez, Gary Tonon, Gordon Ryan.
One of the wrestling guys calls it the Dagestan of USA.
I mean, that's like perfect.
So I can't argue with the results, man.
For real.
Got to give a
right?
shout out to Muhammad.
JT Torres, also
JT,
Jersey.
a bunch of strong guys. But I was just saying, Muhammad's wrestling and counter wrestling look really good. I thought maybe he would pull guard, because he wouldn't be penalized in the first half of the round. But he took it to Nick and stood and traded with him on the feet for that entire round. It looked pretty solid. So he's working his wrestling. Nice work out there.
We got an interesting comment actually from Hinger, Josh Hinger in the live chat here, saying about how the belt system belongs to jiu-jitsu, but in his opinion, ADCC is not jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it's not.
And it is an interesting point because they themselves call it submission fighting. Submission fighting, meaning that it doesn't matter if you're a wrestler, if you're a judo guy, if you're an MMA fighter, sumo, jiu-jitsu, it does not matter. That it's the kind of always was designed as the kind of the proving grounds where your grappling style could go head to head with others. And it just happens to be that jiu-jitsu has always been the most dominant, right? But there have been other stylists who have enjoyed a lot of success in ADCC throughout the history. We're talking about wrestlers like Mark Kerr. There was even a guy...
Mark Kerr is one of the all-time greats.
Of course, and he was even a guy, I think he was in the first or second ADCC, I forget his name off the top of my head, but a South African guy. And he was like a powerlifter and a judo guy. And he went out and he won, because people couldn't do anything to him. But it's like, Nick Rodriguez went out there with literally just around about 12 months of formal grappling, jiu-jitsu training, but his wrestling background, his athleticism, and his hustle,
a lot of
makes it to the
confidence.
silver medal.
A lot of self-confidence.
Mark Kerr, his only loss was to Arona, so if he wins that match, we're talking about Mark Kerr as the only perfect person in ADCC history. He's one of the all-time greats.
He's
for
15-0,
sure.
I want to say, right? I think
that other than Gordon Ryan, Mark Kerr is the only other American to have double golded ADCC.
Did not realize.
Yeah, Mark Kerr
because Lister only won the absolute. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Drysdale only won the absolute.
There you go. But Gordon is the first American in nearly, I think it's 18 years to win double gold.
Do you think they let him do the weight in absolute like he wants next time? Or is
I
it
hope so.
Super fight.
That'd be
But
sweet.
that could sort of mess up the super fight, right? If he wins everything, which he can't fight himself. But I would love. I want to see more Gordon. He's so exciting. I'd like to see him in the weight in the absolute next time.
Gordon Ryan fights himself. That would be something. Yeah.
The only challenge left.
Yeah,
I
literally.
think the ADCC criteria is best exemplified in that Cyborg Nicky Rodriguez match, because watching that through a jiu-jitsu lens, you might want to give that decision to Cyborg. He kind of hit that, or didn't hit, but he
Like the
had
armbar
a nice
attempt?
armbar attempt. He had some good sweep attempts. Like, he was very close, but Nicky Rod was pressuring and lots of aggression from the top, and the top is all that matters.
Well,
in
he
ADCC.
pulled. Cyborg pulled, and I
also true.
saw more and more. Like, if you pull and play guard the whole time, I don't think it works in your favor if it goes to a ref's decision there.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we don't know exactly what the judges are looking for.
Well,
but
we have a good idea.
But it seemed like watching. It seems like if you pull guard, that's a big strike against you.
Paulo Tankini was another one that went to a ref's decision. A lot of people thought, oh, maybe Paulo won that one. A lot of people thought, but it's like, I think they value the top position. Tankini was on top, trying to pass.
Reed, you even mentioned it about how just hanging out with the officials and hanging out with the refs over the weekend and stuff, that they are wrestling fans and they want to see wrestling utilized in ADCC. It's important, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I know those guys are all huge wrestling fans. A lot of them are from that part of the world where wrestling is really, really big. And of course, I think it started as, I feel like it always leaned a little bit more towards wrestling, really, even since 1998. I feel like, and so I feel like these guys they want to see that battle that Nicky Rod brings, and I think that's maybe why he won some of those closer matches, is because he was willing to kind of throw down in the realm that they were looking for.
Okay, so we mentioned there about sort of the standout stories: Nick Rodriguez, Tyro Tolo, Lachlan Giles. We mentioned about the some of our standout matches. We talked about Gordon, but one thing that we briefly touched on, one or two moments, but again, let's go around the table, and Reed, we'll start off with you this time. We'll go the other
Start
way.
with Michael, come on.
I'll go. I'm ready.
Biggest upset of the weekend.
Can we do this one?
I talked about it in my match with Dante. And
Yeah, exactly.
Lucas,
We touched on it, but biggest upset for you?
Biggest upset. Man, I guess it's got to be Kynan Buchecha.
That's where my mind went for sure.
Just because, I mean, really, when you look at it paper, we shouldn't be so surprised, to be honest, right? I mean, it's
but it's Buchecha. But
it's Buchecha.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's Buchecha.
Yeah. Against anybody else, you would be like, oh, Kynan would be fine, but...
I forget who I talked to. I've talked to some, I think it was Gordon maybe, or somebody, and he said, like, yeah, Nicky's probably going to have Buchecha, and he's like, well, I say that, but, you can't count out Kynan ever, and it's so true. It's just like Kynan can win any match you put him in.
Man, you know what? Just from what you say right there, really hammers home a point to me that I think a lot of people kind of just maybe aren't aware of, because they see the bravado, they see the talking crap online, and they see the swagger and the submissions, but one thing they don't realize is how astute and how dialed in Gordon is to this kind of stuff. He posted a little Instagram thing of him on Saturday night after competing, and he's literally sat at his kitchen table in his rented house watching tape from earlier that day. He studies this stuff so closely, right? We talked about how guys were going up against Lachlan Giles and had no idea what his game is. Gordon would never be unprepared like that, right? And for him to kind of sort of be so aware of what could happen in the match between Buchecha and Kynan says a lot, I think, to his grappling IQ.
100%, man. What can you say about Gordon? Jeez, he was impressive that weekend.
Yeah.
He kind of gets buried because I feel like at a certain point we just expected him to win because he just looked so dominant.
He's a bit
there.
of a victim of his own success, right? Sort of, Gordon should win this division, and he did. So
Kynan would have run too. Kynan beat two-time ADCC champs in back-to-back matches there.
What do you think is the biggest upset?
Yeah, against Yuri and then against Buchecha. Those are two huge wins, and I have to say, if you kind of tally it all up, let's forget the submission against Lachlan Giles for a moment. I know it's hard to, right? But let's forget that. But you look at Kynan's run through that division, submitting the European Trials winner in his first match, Eldar Rafagiev, beating Yuri 3-0 by a back take, beating Buchecha by a referee's decision, and then the win over Nick Rodriguez in the final.
Took his back.
That together is an incredible performance.
His ADCC debut. Nope. Not his ADCC.
No, it's not.
He choked Popovich.
He competed 2 years ago. Yeah.
But easy to forget that one.
Yeah.
You tally it up, and that is the most successful competitive year that I've ever seen from a black belt of his age.
First year. You're talking about first year.
Well, no, he's not his first year. He just completed a first year because he got
his first year at black belt though.
No, because he actually got his black belt at Worlds 2018. So he's around about 15 months.
I would call this his first year though, because 2019 gi season. Yeah.
If you want to call it that.
I guess, but in that time, since he won Worlds as a brown belt and got promoted in midway through last year, he's won. Let me see: no gi Worlds, Europeans, Pans, Worlds, Kasai Pro, ADCC. And let's not forget there's a bunch of Grand Slams, World Pro, a bunch of super fights, invitationals and stuff. Incredible, right?
Yeah, I sort of had a feeling I picked Buchecha in my bracket, but after I saw Buchecha versus Braganetto first round, Braganetto showed up in a t-shirt and shorts with zippers, and we know he's older, and Buchecha didn't look like he was too into it.
He got taken down twice, right?
Yeah, I think he got taken down. He waited to the end and just sort of rolled him from half guard. It was and then I saw the way Kynan was going, and even though I had picked Buchecha originally, obviously, I started thinking man, Kynan's looking better. I thought Kynan could have get him, and yeah, what a great upset.
Well, Kynan's now taken out two of the GOATs this year.
Leandro, he passed Leandro's guard.
Low in the final at the World Championships and beating Buchecha here. Those are two huge names. Kynan was the youngest ADCC champion this year, 21 years old.
All right.
Youngest guy in the division as well.
So that's incredible.
Biggest upset, Mike.
My upset, let's think. Well, I think a lot of the big upsets, Kynan, even Dante beating Lucas. Dante we had ranked number 4 going into the week. Fionn beat Bia, but...
Don't list them all off, bro. Come on.
But I'm saying I don't want to pick them because they were all sort of big names going into it. Lachlan... Nobody had Lachlan ranked top 10 at 77 kilograms even. To beat Kynan with a heel hook, forget about the other ones. To beat the 99 kilogram champ, tap him with a heel hook, I think that's the upset of the tournament for me.
Interesting.
It's hard to argue with that, I think. For me, even though you just listed it and we talked about it briefly already, Fionn submitting Bia, I think, is absolutely one of the biggest upsets of the tournament. We all had sort of picked Bia as the dominant champion returning. She's beaten Fionn. She's beaten Bianca Basilio. It was Bia's to win, and Fionn to go out there and submit dramatically like that. You got to hand it to her. That's amazing. So, it's kind of a shame that she ended up injured at the end of the tournament, but that's the way these things go.
I even said that to Fionn. I kind of caught up with her over by the podium, and she's kind of happy sad, right?
Your countrymen.
Yeah.
From Wales. There aren't too many of us, but there were 2 Welsh competitors at this year's ADCC. Ross Nichols in the 77 kilogram division and Fionn, all from Wales. Very, very small country of only 3 million people, so pretty cool to see. But I was chatting to Fionn, and I said, she was happy sad because, happy to have, beaten Bia and beaten a goat and made it to the silver medal. Obviously, very sad to have almost had her foot ripped off her leg. But I was chatting to her and I said, hey, I get it. You're upset with the loss, but nobody can take away the fact that you tapped Bia Mesquita. Now, I don't even remember the last time I saw Beatrice Mesquita get tapped out. I'm not sure if I've ever seen her get tapped out as a black belt. Literally, you have to go deep into the history books to try and find that. And Fionn will forever now be known as the girl who did that. Incredible.
I think that's something that we should.
East Coast Jiu-Jitsu Academy.
I think that's something we should comment on about this event. Talking to these people the day before, everyone knows that. I think that's one of the reasons they're so excited. Everyone knows you don't even got to win this tournament. One big win here makes you a superstar.
Exactly.
Like look at Craig's career trajectory after the last one. He didn't win it. He took 4th, and everybody knows that going in. Like Dante's talked about the day before. Like, this could change my life if I do good. He goes out. He almost lost to Satava. Everything could be different. Satava was inches away from passing his guard for like a minute, and then Dante comes, slams him, takes his back, and wins it. And then after that, gets the biggest win of his career against Lucas Lepre. Like, all this stuff. If Lachlan doesn't enter the absolute, nobody's talking about Lachlan right now. He's a superstar now. This tournament, just going out, you don't have to win anything. Just a big win, an impressive performance can send you, shooting a superstar.
Make or break your career, for sure.
Yeah. Can you imagine where Tyra Tolo is going to go from here? Like, for real, like the trajectory of his life is different now. Like,
I think the answer to that is back to high school.
Juvenile blue belt divisions. Watch out, kids. He's coming for you.
Okay.
So I got I think my biggest upset for the weekend, and it's not just one match, but it's one overall performance. I got to give a shout out to Tankini, because going into the 66 kilogram division, it's something of a kind of a backhanded compliment, I guess, but it's not unfair to say that nobody was talking about Tankini going into this, right? And with good reason. Number one, he was the oldest competitor in the division, 37 years of age.
Didn't medal last time.
Hadn't medaled last time.
66 is a young man's division.
Average age was 25 in that division. It was a young man's division, and he wasn't even in the top 4 seeds, right? You were looking at the seeding, right? Where did you seed him at?
No, I had him top 4.
You had him top 4?
Based off of his 2015 medal, I believe.
Okay, right.
But I think it was like Pablo.
It was Pablo.
Yeah.
Tankini and Bruno were in the mix.
Well, Bruno took silver in 2015. Tankini took bronze, right?
Yeah. So they were both in the mix. But
so they weren't like. Tankini was not a high seed. He was probably middle of the pack, kind of like 5-6, somewhere around there, right? So, people were.
Kennedy had the one probably, or I don't know if they.
Paulo had the one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Paulo had the number one. Paulo Miao had the one. But regardless, is that
Gianni would have been up there too. Gianni would have been one of the top seeds.
So Tankini was just another guy. Just another guy in the mix in a division stacked full of killers, active guys. And, his most recent no-gi appearance was Kasai Pro last year when he took 3rd in that tournament that Gianni won, Paulo took 2nd. Now, that's not to say that we want to discount the fact that Tankini is an IBJJF world champion, gi and no-gi. It's not to discount the fact that he's hit the podium in ADCC in the past. But, big but, right, that he wasn't necessarily.
Keep saying that. I keep chuckling. I'm sorry.
Big butt. He was not as active or as consistent as some of the other guys in this division. So yeah, we kind of slept on him. But one thing we did say,
Michael didn't sleep on third seed.
One thing we did say though is that he definitely had the game, he had the style, and he had the experience to carry him through that division, and he showed it. And
nobody can sweep him.
Well, look at what he did. Number 1, first round match. Tapped out Keith Gregorian. Number 2, second round match, he beat Mateus Gabriel. Right now, the 2019 IBJJF world champion.
Out there, run that back tomorrow night in Dallas.
Semi-final match, beats Paulo Miao, and then in the final, beats Kennedy Maciel, And Kennedy did a great job of getting through to the final right there because, again, he came in as like a replacement for his dad. And he was on fire. He had some amazing matches, a couple of really, really good submissions. But you just look at that run right there. That is not an easy run by any chance. Some of these guys, like you could argue that Gordon's path to the final was not the most, the most difficult. But as far as the 66 go, that was incredible for Tankini.
It's wild, right? Tankini fighting Cobrinha's son in the final.
Yeah.
I think
he used to fight Tankini. Tankini used to fight Cobrinha, right?
Insane.
In the adult divisions.
Yeah.
I think the story for Tankino's run is look at these guys. They can't wrestle with them. Guys want to pull against him, and then you sit down, then you need to wrestle to sweep. They can't sweep him, and then he's going to the overtime. I mean, I see these guys, Mateus, Gabriel, Paulo, under these rules having a tough time putting Tankini flat on his back. He's just scrappy like that.
Yeah, I got to say that was one of the most composed and one of the most just smart performances from the entire weekend. You never saw him out of position. You never saw him, giving a leg up. You never saw him getting into a position where the guy had a chance of scoring on him. He was just rock solid the entire time. Very impressive performance. And like you say, Mike, that Tankini is going to compete tomorrow night in Dallas on Fight to Win against Mateus Gabriel, who he beat in the second round match.
Warriors.
Ref's decision, right?
Warriors.
And Can you imagine going through that and competing next weekend?
Well, I
I
reached out to Seth from Fight to Win yesterday, and I was like, man, is Tankini definitely going to compete this weekend? And he's just sent me a screenshot of something that Tankini posted on his Instagram, and he's like, listen, Tankini wrote, why am I competing? Because I gave my word. I gave my word that I was going to compete.
So Marcelo said to me.
There you go. Like, gold medal performance of the ADCC aside, he's like, I'm going to do it. 6 days later, I'm going to be there.
Savage.
Fucking
Absolutely.
incredible.
Warrior. Did you guys hear about this? That Nicky Rod and Pat Downey are going to do a wrestling match this weekend?
Phenomenal, man.
Love it.
Yeah, right.
So it is a pure wrestling match, right? There's some
Freestyle.
Altered rules.
Just
altered
takedowns.
rules, but
It's
there's no
just takedowns.
submissions.
So you can't leg lace or
Nicky
anything?
Rod might get in there.
There's one thing I know about Nicky Rod, man. When time's running and he's on the mat with
The fight
somebody,
is happening.
Hey, so
he's
it's
going to be
just-
trying to choke somebody out.
It's just takedowns. You can't leg lace and tech them or anything?
No, it's no parterre
okay.
stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just takedown and up, basically. I wouldn't be surprised Nicky tries to slap on a couple chokes.
Well, he's got a size advantage working in his favor.
Little head and arm
He's a
triangle
lot bigger
action.
than
Yeah.
Downey.
He chokes Downey unconscious. Who's the winner?
Yeah.
Well, in wrestling rules, they just restart, right?
Yeah,
They let the guys
gotta
come
keep
around
doing
and they
it.
just keep going.
He well, Downey just did Worlds at 86 kilograms, so Nick's gonna have a big size advantage playing in his favor because going up against Downey's a Team USA current world member.
Yeah.
And he won a couple matches at Worlds. He didn't go 0-1. So he's a very tough wrestler for him to go against.
Yeah, it's a great match. Love it.
exciting.
These guys are hot and they they struck while the iron was hot, man. This is awesome. Love it. Love to see it.
What about you were talking about Tankino's strategy going through? What about JT? JT just seems like the perfect strategist at ADCC, in my opinion. Like
100%.
he fights so smart. He's always got a game plan. He stays focused.
For me, that was the defining factor of JT. So he went up against a couple guys who are really, really tough to deal with. Gary Tonon. Everybody knows that Gary's antics, on the mat, right? But he's a very wily kind of competitor. He's very dangerous, but he also he loves to be in the chaos of those,
Unorthodox,
right?
yeah.
And that's where he can score, and he does really well. And then you got a very different competitor in Wagner Hocher in the final,
jabbing you in the chest.
who's one of the most violent.
Did you see the bruise on his forehead?
Oh, so crazy.
Gnarly.
Wagner
Dude
is just straight
ready.
thugging it.
Both of
right?
those
He
guys-
was just getting in people's faces.
Both of those guys pull people out of their game regularly.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah,
JT,
exactly.
you can't do that to him. He sticks to his game plan no matter what you do.
JT was, for me, was the most composed and the most poised competitor of the entire tournament. Mentally unshakable, just so solid, so dialed in, so focused. And I mean, it just goes to show why he is now a 2-time ADCC champion. And I said to him as well, that, hey, you got to come back.
Toughest-
You've got to
yeah.
come back for the three-peat. You know why? Because number one, there has never been a 3-time ADCC division champion from America. Like Gordon's got 3 ADCC gold medals. Mark Kerr has 3 ADCC gold medals. But those are 2 weight divisions and an absolute. But nobody's come back and done back to back to back in the same division gold medals. And also, I believe, apart from Marcelo, nobody else has done, in recent years, nobody else has defended the 77
He's the
kilogram
first
title.
person since Marcelo to defend it.
There you go.
Because that division's so tough. Like, we called it the group of death going into this.
Yeah.
JT goes through there and doesn't get scored on. And it
What?
is in control the entire time.
I feel like I think about Marcelo's 4 times winning ADCC as the division as just so unattainable now. But then you look at JT and it's like,
JT could do it.
JT could do it, dude.
He doesn't.
And the wrestling was the key, right?
Yeah.
He out-wrestled DJ Jackson, put him on his back. He out-wrestled Gary Tonon. He out-wrestled Wagner. He out-wrestled every single
I
guy
think
that he
his
faced.
wrestling, too, is when you see when he's taking guys down, even if he's doing a single leg or anything, he's sort of double leg, body lock stuff, but he's switching to a body lock when it's going to the ground, because you can't just go to the ground with one leg, because you can't put them flat on their back like that.
They'll slip out.
Guys are missing points like that. JT's switching to a body lock and pinning them flat on their back, and he's actually getting the points that guys are leaving behind out there.
Total competition time for JT Torres across those 4 matches was
epitome.
60 minutes. 60 minutes of work, hard work.
15 minutes off.
That is a
I think he
lot
did the
of
same
time
thing in
on the mat.
2017. I did the championship study, and I think he might have hit like 75 minutes last time. So
Wow.
he puts in that work for sure.
His
He
back
really
take
does,
against
man.
Wagner was beautiful.
It was.
He went for the single. Wagner went Kimura trap, and he snuck behind him to take the back.
All right, so real quick about the Wagner JT. So you and I, all 3 of us, we were talking about this last night because we were going through the results and we were kind of tallying up the scores and stuff. And there's a little bit of a confusion as to what is recorded on the results for the Wagner JT final. And I made a point of reaching out and kind of finding out exactly what happened. So if you look at the arena, the official bracket, the result is recorded as a submission with 1 second left in the match. Now, if you watch the video, what happens is there's approximately 3 seconds left in the mat. Wagner knows that the time's running out. Wagner reaches up and behind, taps JT on the head and says, "Great job, well done." And the referee stops it. And they were right on the edge of bounds anyway. He stops it. And you see the referee kind of say, "You tapped." And Wagner's like, "No, I didn't tap."
Yeah, exactly.
And even, and I reach out to Wagner and I'm like, "Bro, it just looked like a seatbelt. There was no choke on. You didn't tap, right?" And he's like, "No." He said, the referee said you tapped. And he said, even JT turned around and said he didn't tap. So even though the victory is recorded officially as a submission, I'm not counting it as a submission.
Interesting. I didn't
JT
realize
and
that
Wagner,
happened.
if JT and Wagner say there was no tap, and the referee said there was, well, I guess it's hard to argue with the officials, but there was no submission.
I checked BJJ Heroes. They agree with you. They have a 3-0 win.
Good, good, because I think it's unfair to Wagner to call that a submission win, right?
At the same time, though, I mean, I'm on the same side as all of us here, but Wagner shouldn't have tapped in his head. Like, come on. Like,
Don't tap.
Don't
him
risk it.
twice as well, right?
Yeah,
How
exactly.
matches,
One
that is how
tap or
matches
whatever.
stop, right?
Yeah.
Say nice job. Do anything.
You could have waited
Give him a
until
wink. I
3
don't know.
seconds and you would have been done, but I guess it's
But
one of those
weird
weird
to force
moments, right?
force a submission when it's not there. So
Yeah, exactly. I think that was kind of a harsh call on ref's part, but anyway, that's by the by. But
wow, what
man,
a tournament!
What a
tournament!
tournament! I just ran through some stats as well last night because I wanted to kind of go through some things. In total, 98 competitors, including the 2 in the super fight, of course. A total of 110 matches. Only 3 were forfeited, and those were the bronze medal matches in 3 divisions: the under 99, over 99, and the under 60. Under 60, Beatriz Mosqueda couldn't compete because of the injured arm. Cyborg, he decided that he did not want to compete in a bronze medal match against Buchecha.
A lot of people messaged me about that stuff this week.
And then Vinny was the same, right? Vinny.
What do you guys think about that?
Vinny decided not to compete against who was it in the under 99 third place? Hulk decided not to compete in the third place match, and apparently he got kind of mad because the commentators, I'm not sure who it was, but the commentators, I think it might have been Ricardo and Sean, they said that he was injured and he couldn't compete. And actually he came out and he said no. He said, "I decided that I have enough bronze medals as it is. I only came out there to win gold, and therefore I didn't want to compete in the bronze medal match."
Yeah, should have went with being injured, in my opinion, because I think that sounds better.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that sounds like a cop-out. You didn't want a bronze medal, so you didn't want to compete. That's like saying, screw you guys, I'm taking my ball home because you guys aren't playing by the rules I want. I'm out.
That's something several athletes have DM'd me since the tournament, saying, are you guys going to talk about it? Like, people unhappy with sitting out a bronze medal match. I agree with them. I mean,
I'm sure you could have gotten somebody else to fight for the bronze. I'm sure a bronze medal certainly changed Lachlan Giles' life.
There you go. Yeah, there's no shame in an ADCC bronze medal.
Well,
you have to fight for it as well. It's not like a default participation.
Look at Paulo.
medal.
Paulo had a tough ref's decision that a lot of people thought his way. He went out there and fought. He didn't say anything on social media. He went out there and he had the match afterwards. I just think to respect the tournament, you got to do it. Since I was a kid doing wrestling, you lose. Okay, you're upset about it. You got to suck it up and go wrestle back. Go for bronze. I mean, it's just part of just any sport, really.
I feel like I should maybe it's a little harsh, but void the invite. Like, why would you get invited back if you're not going to respect the tournament?
No, that's a really good point, actually.
I can't imagine too many people at the Olympics or something.
Oh, well, imagine Jordan Burroughs at Worlds. Jordan Burroughs, legend.
Exactly.
Jordan Burroughs, he came there looking for a gold medal.
Exactly.
He didn't want a bronze medal, but he loses. He goes back and he wrestles back for bronze. If Jordan Burroughs would have said, "Nah, I'm done. I just want a gold medal," what do you think the wrestling community would have reacted?
Exactly.
No, it would have been an uproar.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they really would. And there were two guys who decided not to wrestle. Right, it was both Vinny and Cyborg, and they're very different reasons. I mean, Cyborg was
Sounds
furious.
like they had similar reasons.
No, Vinny was saying he
kind of, yeah.
thought that he shouldn't have given up 2 against Ritor, and he was upset about it.
Right, but okay, so it was they were both
Problems
pissed
with
off
the
with the
federation.
officiating.
But
Yeah.
you're right. Go ahead. Sorry.
Right. Well, Cyborg was furious at the decision. He felt that under ADCC criteria that he should have deserved a division. And you did a great interview with him, Reed, as well, where he's talking about how he felt like his ADCC history, that he knew the rules and he went in there and he did what he thought was necessary, and he was denied a decision, and it is what it is. That's subjective. It's somebody's opinion. You can't always claim. But Vinny straight up thought that it was officiating error and that he straight up got screwed because of the takedown points, right?
Yeah, there's a different
Guess so.
argument. Yeah.
I guess they're slightly different arguments. Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. I think it's hard to argue that it was a takedown if you go back and watch that match with Traktor, Vinny versus Traktor.
Yeah, I watched it this morning. Well, Vinny's saying that he was in on the leg for 3 seconds. And then pulled. But it's very close. Like, when I was trying to count it
It's
in
all
my head.
continuous action.
Yeah,
to me,
when I'm trying to count it in my head, it's super. It's so close that you cannot, I think, say the guy was 100% wrong. He's out there. He doesn't have a timer to tell him. If he's just counting in his head. And also, it looked like Traktor sort of had an underhook, sort of knee tap. So I could definitely see someone thinking that's a takedown. When I watched it live, I thought it was a takedown.
We got a good comment in the live chat as well here from I think a top fan, Will Safford.
Oh, yes, he achieved that
love
ranking.
But he makes a good point of saying that they actually robbed the fans of some potentially great fights as well. And I think that's a really good point, is that those were 2 bronze medal matches that could have been really, really good, right? Vinny versus
would've loved
Hulk
to
would
see
have
it.
been great. Cyborg versus
Buchecha.
Buchecha.
Yeah, I mean, go out there and give the fans what they want. They paid for the tickets. Everybody who's watching the stream at home. I mean, to just like you said, it's like I'm mad about the result. I'm taking my ball and I'm going home.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah. Well, it was a shame that it played out that way, and I really hope that
And
that we get
otherwise-
to see those matches at some
Yeah,
other point.
and everybody's got their own opinions on how those matches went and who should have won, but I mean, I think it's just like they got to give it to somebody, and somebody's gonna be mad, and it's unfortunate that if it went the other way, maybe some other people would have been mad that it went the other way, but I just think that they got to give it to somebody, and
Well, it's all subjective too.
Yeah,
I mean, if it goes to a ref's decision, it's subjective.
is there really this bias? Is there really a lot?
If it goes the other way, the other team's going to be upset about
Exactly,
it. If they don't call that a takedown, Alliance is going to be upset about it.
Right.
If they give the ref's decision to Cyborg, the Henzo guys are going to say they should have thought Nick won.
I'm really impressed with the judges of ADCC, the refs of ADCC. I think they take their job very seriously. I think
Yes, they do,
They take
right?
their jobs. That's why they don't mingle too much with the athletes and stuff like that. They want to be as unbiased and as down the middle as they possibly can be.
Well, maybe a factor as well is sorry to interrupt. Maybe a factor as well is that people are so accustomed. So unaccustomed to competing under ADCC rules because it's only every 2 years, even with all that experience. But ADCC rules are kind of very, very unique. They're very different to any other grappling
the rules
event.
literally change halfway through the match. It's great.
They do.
It
Literally,
really throws people off. Yeah.
So maybe these guys, they think they know what ADCC rules are, but actually they don't.
Yeah, I think even Keenan weighed on this issue on his Instagram at one point. I was looking at his stories, and he said, like, the athletes, they move around and they compete in different organizations, and they compete more than sometimes even in IBJJF events and IBJJF refs ref. But ADCC refs only ref ADCC. That's their bread and butter. That's the rule set. That's their expertise. And these athletes show up every 2 years. So on the the argument of criteria, you might want to go with the guy that's all he knows.
Yeah, and that's true. That's all these guys do. They travel to every trials, in Asia, in Europe,
America,
South America,
Europe, everywhere.
These guys. You're totally right. They nobody knows it better than those guys.
Something I think you can't complain about either if you're going to go to ADCC is the action going on in the concrete. You got to be ready until they stop you. You got to be ready because we saw there's no set place where they're going to stop it. They just make a judgment call. They're going to let it keep going if they think this is important. And
again, that's something unique to ADCC. You don't see any other grappling tournament where guys will roll out of bounds and they let you go. If a submission is still active, is still in play,
Or even like a wrestling scramble. You don't really
even.
know.
Kind of took the back. They were wrestling on the concrete and then kind of got the back of Yuri all the way out on the concrete.
I know. They took out my table in the process.
It is a bit insane, don't get me wrong, but it's obvious.
It's ADCC.
It's known. It's well known.
Exactly.
Kind of
There's
sticks
no
to that plan
excuse
too,
for
'cause
not knowing.
when Kynan set up his back taking against Nick, he got the body lock to get behind him. They were on the concrete there too. So Kynan played that game well this week.
There you go. Yeah, that table, man. God, we must have had reinforced tables.
Yours was
or
the
something
worst
because,
one because Hulk and Gaudio came crashing into you too.
I thought we were literally a WWE moment right there. But it's funny that some guys as well, maybe they were prepared for it because they just jumped straight back up and were like, straight back in the middle, good to go. Where other guys
were prepared.
Yeah, where other guys, they did hit the table and they were like, it really threw them off mentally, physically,
Hitting that concrete hard probably does that to you.
Although I did see Mateus Gabriel jump for a flying armbar
on the concrete,
and land straight on his back on the concrete and pop up like he just jumped on a trampoline and then run back to the center. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's saying actually here that Spriggs and Ali owe us a TV. That's correct. They did actually destroy.
They broke the TV.
They did.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
We had to switch it out midway through the match.
That was insane.
So.
You would have never
I
guessed
didn't even
those
know
guys
they
were on the
went
same
into
team.
it. Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting thing that they did for the first time at ADCC this year was they allowed 2 teammates to enter the absolute, whereas usually it's just 1 per team. And they did the same criteria where you had to come in and you had to meet second round if you had 2 teammates, they had to face off. And we actually saw Gordon versus Gary and we saw Spriggs versus Ali. And Spriggs versus Ali was one of the most entertaining matches of the tournament as well.
Yeah, it really
Insane.
was.
They're going all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those guys kill each other in training every day. If that's what their training looked like, could we just stream that 24/7, please? Because that was incredible.
Another thing that the rule set that brings it up is shout out to ADCC for setting it up where there cannot possibly be any closeouts. Making teammates fight early makes it such a better tournament. I mean, there's no secret.
100%.
We all hate closeouts. I mean, they ruin events sometimes.
We want to know who the best is.
One big story that we didn't touch on as well, that I think we have to mention, is the fact that Gabby Garcia made history this weekend by becoming the first ever woman to win 4 ADCC gold medals, tying Marcelo Garcia's all-time record of most ADCC golds. That's incredible, right?
Yeah, they both did it. Weight
Credit
class
where
only
credit is
too.
due.
They both did
Yeah.
it without being able to win 2 in 1 year. And,
Right.
yeah, she's gonna. I mean, she said she's coming back to get 5. She most likely. I don't see anybody beating her. I think she's gonna be the only 5-timer.
We didn't get to see Tayani versus
We didn't.
Gabby,
Tiny took
that's-
bronze, right?
She lost to Karina Santi
lost
in
to
the
Karina
semi.
Santi.
Karina looked great. Karina beat Nachieli, I think 8-0 in the first round, and then beat Tayani.
That's no small
Still like
thing,
to see,
right? That's
still like
huge.
to see that Tayani versus Gabby.
Yeah, let's run that one on
that's
a fight
the
to
one
win or
match we
something,
were
yeah.
really hoping
I
to
wanted to
see,
see that
right?
forever. Gi or no gi, I want to see that one.
It's definitely
Yeah.
a tougher tournament than 2017 for Gabby too. Her first 2 matches both went to 15-minute overtimes.
I was surprised by that. The first one about
Stephanie Egger from
Yeah, yeah.
Stephanie
Switzerland.
Egger
Yeah.
says that one
Tough.
surprised me.
Oh,
Yeah.
he
Very
hit that
tough,
sick
yeah.
like arm spin. It
Yeah.
almost threw her. That
Yeah.
was sick. The crowd popped super big for that.
But Gabby definitely just dominated in that final, got on top and hit the commercial finish. And,
Against Karina.
Santi.
Karina was in a sling too. How many people did you see at the end of this tournament walk around with their arm in a sling or on crutches or
Yeah.
like their faces peeling off
Not
like the
Lachlan
Terminator?
Giles,
Yeah,
though.
yeah. Lachlan Giles is all smiles. but-
Lachlan Giles floated out of that arena.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh my word. Well, guys, I think that's a great place to wrap it up. That was a fantastic tournament. There's so much good stuff to unpack from it. I'm sure we'll be talking about it still for weeks and months to come.
Can't
and
wait.
there's so like the shockwaves are still reverberating through the world of grappling, and I think it's we're still going to be digesting this for a long time.
Can't wait for the next one, boys. Right?
2021 is going to be
2021.
wild.
Let's go.
2021.
Mo, I really hope you live up to that promise of making it even bigger than this one. That would be incredible. Guys, thanks very much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you next week.